You are watching 32 teams in 32 days on the Game Time Sports Network.
It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, the haters, the addicts, and the fanatics? This is Larry Patterson for GT365. It's Game Time 365 Sports right here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. Got a special guest with me today, big Atlanta Falcons fan, James Brown from the LegacyMaker Sports Network. You co-host the J&J podcast with Jay Quimby. Had him on yesterday. Also, Legacy on Fire with Darrell Owens. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good, man. I'm glad to be here. First time on the network. Hopefully not the last time. We'll get that straight later. But looking forward to the day. Talking about hopefully the best team in the NFC South this upcoming season. Definitely excited, and I'm glad to see where this one goes, man. Let's get it started.
Yeah, my co-host Amon, he'll be popping in soon here, whenever he comes. But this Atlanta Falcons team, 8-9 on the season last year, 4-2 in the division. You started 6-5, hit the bye week, ended the season on a 2-4 note, losing two in a row. You had those two overtime games. Um,
Yeah.
Missing the playoffs for the seventh straight season. I know you don't like that.
Nah.
But on the flip side of that, you had quality wins against Philly thanks to a Saquon Barkley drop pass. And then, you won three straight against your NFC South opponents. How did I know it's not the way you wanted it to go, but tell me the rundown of how last season went for you as a fan.
Honestly, it was a great start to the season. As far as the first couple months, again, Kirk Cousins coming in off that big deal we gave him last year, then them drafting Michael Penix. So at that point, it seemed like, hey, whether it's Cousins or this rookie, they're looking to solve the quarterback position. And half through the first half of the season, man, it honestly looked like Kirk Cousins could have been that answer. I mean, at one point we were 6-3. We had the big win Thursday night against the Tampa Bay Bucks, where he threw for 509 yards. Atlanta was flying high, and then all of a sudden we have that second game in New Orleans where Cousins gets hits off the edge and messes up his shoulder and elbow, and we kind of nosedive the rest of the season. Like I said, after that we had the bye week. He still tried to play through it. Michael Penix was there on the bench. They had brought him in for some spot duty early in the year, and it looked like there may have been something there, but Coach Raheem chose to stick with Cousins, let him play through it. Then finally, the last three games of the season, Michael Penix comes in, and a lot of the fan base was kind of looking like, well, hey, this guy looks like he might have been ready. Why so late on making that switch, Coach? I mean, he came out those last three games and he played well in all three games. Yes, he did have some turnovers, but none of those actually were his fault per se. I mean, you had the tip pass from Kyle Pitts in the first game against the Giants. You had the second game against the Commanders where wide receiver was held up on the route, wasn't called. So he was thrown to a spot where the guy should have been, but held up, interception. And then the last game, tip pass, Ray McLeod has it in the hands and he's going to the ground and gets tipped up and picked off. So, Michael Penix definitely came in at the end of last season, played well. And I think, honestly, he's going to be the bright spot potentially for this offense this year because if he truly is the guy and he solves that quarterback position, this Falcons team has shown over the last few seasons that they can play well on offense, but they just need that quarterback to sustain it and not just for part of the season, but for the whole season. And if Penix can do that, he could turn things around here in Atlanta this year.
What's up? What's going on, Amon? Amon, this
What's up,
is
fellas?
James Amon.
How
What's
y'all
going on, man?
Uh, I want to ask you your thoughts on you signing Kirk Cousins to that deal, and then you turn it around and you selected Michael Penix with eighth overall, right?
Right.
What was going on through your mind as a fan? Were you like, man, what are we doing?
I mean, naturally, when you first see that you sign Kirk Cousins, it's like, all right, well, hey, they're looking to solve the quarterback position through free agency. man, that's a lot of money to be giving a guy that's 35 coming off an Achilles injury. But there's definitely a need at the position there. You couldn't run it back with Desmond Ritter. You saw what that got you. There was really nobody else on the market. I know a lot of people clamored for Justin Fields, a few other guys, but nobody on the market really seemed to be that long-term franchise answer. They went with Kirk, thinking, hey, he could buy us a couple years. And then we get into draft season, and throughout the draft year, Falcons fans think, hey, we got to go defense. We've gone offensively the last 3 drafts to this point to build up that side of the ball. We need to build up the defensive side. And I'm not gonna lie, draft night comes, and with the 8th pick, it announces the Falcons have Michael Penix Jr. And it was kind of like a WTF moment. Like, what are we doing? We signed Cousins. I thought we had the quarterback position figured out. What's going on here? And then, after it digested, 24 hours, 48 hours later, you kind of think about it, and it's like, well, Kirk is 35. He is coming off an Achilles injury. He's definitely not getting any younger. If he can be that bridge quarterback until Penix is ready to take over, it's not that bad. Yes, it is a lot of money, but you'd have had to spend that money regardless, whether it be on the offensive side, the defensive side. You happen to choose to spend it on a quarterback. And like I said, that first half of the season, he was worth that money. Now, he got injured down the stretch. He wasn't. But for that brief moment, you couldn't argue that he wasn't worth making. We probably had him at a steal because, again, he had us at 6-3, first place in the NFC South. And we were looking to compete for a playoff position, and he just happened to get injured. So, I mean, that's not his fault per se, but it is what it is. It's part of the game.
Amon, what were you thinking when that whole offseason went down with Kirk Cousins getting signed and then Michael Penix draft?
Well, man, James, thank you. I want to say thank you for Brock Bowers, because I definitely thought if Michael Penix was still on the board for my Vegas Raiders, that was going to be the pick. But I think the curveball got thrown in when the Atlanta Falcons select Michael Penix. I'm like, whoa, it definitely was a curveball, and it took the Twitterverse got shook up a little bit. But as you wish, I thought it was kind of a like you said, James. Okay, they're fixing their quarterback situation through free agency. Lord knows you know more about Desmond Ritter than I do. I seen him for a little bit last year. I know that the little time that he played with us, man, I was like, ooh, I don't see how Atlanta, dealt with this for all the years that, that they dealt with him as their starting quarterback. But, like you said, I think the thing that really blew it out of proportion, and you were spot on, I think the money was the thing. It's like, okay, you signed him to a $100 million contract. Was it $100 million guaranteed or whatever the case may be?
About 90 to 100 guaranteed over the first
somewhere
couple
along
years.
along the way. I was like, dang, this money is going to be a thing. But as I sat back and I thought about it for a couple months, I'm like, well, this reminds me of the Alex Smith situation with Patrick Mahomes, that type of model. You go in, you get your veteran quarterback. Yes, Alex Smith didn't cost near as much as Kirk Cousins did, but you want some type of insurance policy just in case what happened to Kirk did, go down, which unfortunately it did for Atlanta faithful. You say you were 6-3 at the time, so you were riding high, looking good. So, and then boom, injuries happened. It's one of his first injuries. So, as I scaled back and just started thinking about it, I was like, okay, maybe Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot had a plan, and they presented the plan to Arthur Blank, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Yes, Michael Penix was one of the older quarterbacks of the 6, but I mean, to get him at 24, I believe he's 23, 24, and these quarterbacks are playing for 10, 12 years now. So if you can get a solid 10 years out of Penix, successful years, I think it's a good thing. So, but yeah, Larry, I was shocked, and James, I was shocked at the beginning, but as I started thinking about it and looking at the business aspect of it and where the life cycle of the Falcons was with Drake London and Bijan, and it was probably perfect to drop a quarterback in there just in case something did happen to Cousins. And lo and behold, we know how it ended for him in Atlanta. So, yeah, that was my initial thoughts on and at the very beginning.
A little over 3,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Completed 66.9% of his passes for Penix. 61 of 105, 775 on the yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. James, you already alluded to the interceptions. How confident, I guess you have no other choice, but how confident are you going into the season with Penix as the signal caller?
I would definitely say there's, confidence and definitely reason to be confident. Again, going back to last season, when Michael Penix took over as starter for the Atlanta Falcons, at that point, they were still in playoff contention. They were still able to win a division title. And they turned to him with the last 3 games on the line and said, "Hey, kid, the offense is yours. Go in there, get us these wins, and we can make it to the playoffs." So, one, that speaks to the level of confidence that they had in him, because to put him in that kind of position as a rookie, they truly believed, like, hey, look, this kid can play, or hey, he's got something, and we're gonna find out what it is. And like I said, in all 3 games, he did his part. You have the game against the Giants that he won outright, and then even the game against the Commanders, we lost it in overtime. But look at that last drive that he put together to actually get the Falcons to the end zone. That 4th down touchdown to Kyle Pitts
Oh, I was
after we
just about
had
to
the
say
fumble
that.
snap. Like, the clutch gene, it seems it may be there. I mean, we saw a hint of it, a small hint of it last year, especially with that Commanders game. But again, to speak to the situation of the playoffs are on the line, we're turning it over to a rookie, and he comes in and he does his part. And if the defense plays better, there's a good chance we win both of those games and possibly have a playoff spot. So it's definitely reason to be confident going into this upcoming season. He's now had the entire offseason as the guy in Atlanta. And, they started training camp today, and we're starting to see some of the dividends of that.
Jay says
Jay going crazy over there. Ain't
Jay is going crazy. Jay said he's Will Levis, but in ATL. So
that's
Well,
tough.
Jay gets a lot of things wrong, especially when it comes to Atlanta Falcons takes. But he's usually more Buccaneer suited. But we'll see what questions get answered come week 1, Jay.
Bijan Robinson rushed for 1456 on the yards with 14 touchdowns. Tyler Algier added 644 on the yards with 3 touchdowns. Both Bijan Robinson 4.8 per. Tyler Algier 4.7 per. How you feel about this rushing attack from last year going into this year?
Honestly, I feel like that has the potential to be the best part of the offense. Again, Bijan Robinson is going to be that feature back this year for Atlanta. Um, he's going to be basically the motor for this offense, the engine that kind of keeps it going. If 7 can chew up yards on the ground or through the small passing game, that will open things up not only for Michael Penix, but for Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. And then when Bijan needs a breather, you can still bring in Tyler Algier and continue to hammer home on those defenses. Again, both guys have the ability to run with power. Bijan's definitely a little bit more wiggle to his game than Tyler. But, I mean, we've seen Algier break some long runs before. And I would say, honestly, that's probably the strength of our offensive unit, those two. And if they stay healthy and have equivalent seasons to the past or even better, that'll definitely bode well for the Falcons.
Man, that receiving room looks a whole lot better with a quarterback, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Drake
Most definitely.
Drake Drake London went from 800 to 900, and then with 1271 on the yards, plus with 9 touchdowns. Darnell Mooney, another case. Once you get him around a competent quarterback, the numbers go up. He almost had 1,000 yards last year. And then Ray McLeod, 686. Kyle Pitts, 602. I want to see Kyle explode this year. Remember that first season that he had 1,000 yards. Hopefully Penix could unlock him. And then as well, you had Bijan Robinson go for 431 in the past game. In the past game too, for a pass game that ranked 5th. What is the expectation and like the ceiling that you can see this past game go?
I would say ceiling wise, Zach Robinson coming over from that Sean McVay system out in LA, I would say the ceiling could be top 3, top 4 offense. But again, that's with the running game clicking and then that allowing the passing game to open up. the way this team is structured, they are going to have to run the ball in order to be able to set up the pass. And if they can do that, especially with Robinson's scheme, hopefully they'll create more opportunities for a lot of these other guys on the field. And honestly, Penix being able to make that connection with Pitts this offseason, I think that will finally get us back to that rookie version of Kyle Pitts that we saw. Again, he's going into his 5th-year option. It's a contract year for him. I'm sure he wants to get paid this upcoming offseason. And so this is his opportunity to prove it. Michael Penix seems to be the guy. You're going into a contract year. It's now or never for Kyle Pitts in Atlanta. Hopefully he gets it done, because that rookie year version, while he didn't score a lot of touchdowns, he definitely helped move the ball for this offense, and it opened up for other guys. And so now if he has that chance to kind of get loose, score some touchdowns, rack up some yards, it'll only help the team go further.
This defense, when was the last time they had a successful pass rusher? Was it John Abraham?
Successful John Abraham. If we're just talking about a guy that reached double digits, that'd be Vic Beasley back in the Super Bowl season.
Yeah, that Vic Beasley, boy, that early. I don't know if it was 2015, 20, whatever year it was.
2015 season, he had like 14 and a half or something like that.
2015, boy, that Vic Beasley was crazy, and I was like, oh my God, and then boom.
I forgot.
As quickly as it came, it went. Like,
my Lord.
As quickly as it came, it went, and it was just like we saw a glimpse of what we could have had defensively in Vic, and it was just like a mirage in a sort of way. But this defense has definitely been the Achilles heel to a lot of these teams in Atlanta here lately. Hopefully now, since they've invested some resources there, we'll see some dividends of that side of the ball improving as well.
Ranking 31st in sacks. For the last few years, I know that pass rush just hasn't got there. As we spoke on Arnold Abichetti, I'm expecting some big things out of him coming up this year. 6 sacks. Matt Judon, who was, I guess, a failed experiment. You traded for him, and then he can only come away with 5.5. I know you was expecting a lot more there. And then Caden Ellis, who came up big for you guys, 5 sacks. David Onyemata had 3. So, and then when you go to tackles, I'm just touching on the defense real quick. The tackles, Caden Ellis, 151 tackles. He's been a joy having over there. And then Jesse Bates as well. So, was it 102 tackles, and he had 4 interceptions. So, what the addition of Jesse Bates, like, here we go, Amon again talking about Cincinnati.
I know what you about to go, but
talking about Cincinnati, letting guys out of the building, and Jesse Bates been over there in Atlanta silently been playing pretty damn good football. The addition of Jesse Bates, how has that been for you as a fan?
I mean, it's been great. I mean, Jesse has won us a few different games outright. He sealed the deal in the Philadelphia game by picking off Jalen Hurts this past season. He sealed the game against the Raiders, where he got the pick late off Desmond Ridder. If you think back to last season, he had the pick 6 in the Georgia Dome against the Saints to help us win that game. He always seems to be in the right spot to make plays. I know he's been beat a couple times since he's joined the team, but he's paid more dividends by getting turnovers and not just interceptions. He's great at forcing out with the punch move. Like, he's kind of nailed that down as well, where he's good at punching the ball out and making fumbles happen and either recovering it or setting other guys up. So when you have that on the back end, it's like that last line of defense. I honestly believe it will allow the guys in front of him to play better. And once they get that pass rush going, it'll help him out, because now the quarterback won't have as much time to kind of scan the field and see what they're trying to do. And it may help increase his turnover numbers. So I feel like that's been the best free agent move Terry Fontenot has made since joining the Falcons, and it's paid dividends. He's approaching a contract season next year, but hopefully they get him done a little bit sooner, where he can be here long term, and he wants to be here long term. Hopefully, this season they can win some more games, maybe get a playoff push. He'll be like, hey, I want to stay and finish out here in Atlanta.
Missed tackles were a big thing for this team as well. I have here did some research. So Jesse Bates gave up a 89.1 opposing passer rating. He gave up 5 touchdowns and 8 missed tackles. When you get to AJ Terrell, 93 passer rating, 4 touchdowns and 13 missed tackles. And then I know you're a big fan of Mike Hughes and D. Alford. Mike Hughes 105.8 with 3 touchdowns and 7 missed tackles, and then D. Alford 117.9, 8 touchdowns and 16 missed tackles. Sheesh.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, Raheem Morris, known for being a defensive coordinator over in Atlanta. Oh, over at LA, he won a championship there. This defense, you went defense heavy in the draft. Let's look at your draft picks while we had it. First round, pick 15. You took Jalen Walker. I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. What do you think about you guys circling around and getting James Pierce out of Tennessee and in the back end of the round?
Let's take it from the top. When it came to the defense last year, while Morris was the head coach, he definitely brought in Jimmy Lake, and Lake was kind of the guy running his defensive scheme, calling the plays defensively. And we saw that his scheme really didn't help these pass rushers. To your point earlier, you said Matthew Judon was a failed experiment. I agree with that. And I believe a lot of that was more so scheme-based than player-based, because when he was able to actually attack the quarterback, that's when he made more of his highlight plays on the year. There were often a lot of times where Jimmy Lake has Matthew Judon dropping back into coverage, and it's like that's not his game. You did not trade for him and give up a 3rd round pick in order for him to come in here and drop back into coverage. You brought him in to attack the quarterback. And so I feel that there was a lot of defensive headbutting when it came to the scheme last year, how it fit the personnel. And we actually saw that after the bye week, once Morris took over play calling duties for the defense, they played much better. We think back to that Chargers game last year. The only reason we were still in that game was because of the defense, because Kirk had thrown 4 or 5 interceptions, and it was only a 7-point game. And that was all because of the defense. And we've seen, once Raheem took over, changed things up a little bit schematically, defense played better. That's when we started to actually get more of those sacks. And so hopefully this year, by relieving Jimmy Lake of his duties, thank God, bringing in Jeff Ulbrich, we are starting to hopefully see where this defense will turn it around. And then they've actually invested now in that side of the ball. You go out in the first round, you get Jalen Walker, a guy who they honestly thought wasn't going to be there at 15, who they predicted was going to go earlier in the draft. You get him in. They say not only is he a great leader, he's a great football player. And honestly, I feel that they're going to probably use him as a little bit of a chess piece when it comes to the defensive front, either lining them up at pass rusher, possibly lining them up inside, possibly having them play a little bit of off-ball linebacker. And so you can't get mad at a piece like that because it's high risk, high reward. But if it hits, you're talking about a guy who can play anywhere in your defensive front 7 and can get to the quarterback for you, and then doubling that back down on it and getting James Pierce Jr. I know a lot of people looked at that and scratched their heads because, again, that whole double dip theory like they did the year prior with quarterbacks. But if it works, it works. And again, you need pass rushers here in Atlanta. We've been starving for a pass rusher since John Abraham retired. And so you double down on it this year. You got 2 guys that play the same position, but play stylistically, they both play it a little different. James Pierce is more of that speed rusher, whereas Jalen Walker is a little bit more speed to power. James Pierce Jr. is flat out speed. Like, he's trying to beat the tackle around the edge. He does have power, but he flexes it more on the speed game of it. So if those 2 guys hit, or even if they're just rotational pieces that can come in, maybe get 5-6 sacks this year, that's already better than what you had last year. And then round 3, we traded back and we're able to get Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame, another guy who was just a ball hawk. I think over the last 2 years in college football, he was tied for most interceptions in the nation, I think with 13. So again, Notre Dame safety, smart football player, a guy who just always seems to be around the ball and making plays. He's not the most freaky athletic guy, but he plays with great anticipation, great sense of what's going to happen, what the offense is trying to do, that I think it helps make up for that. Then in round 4, you go out and you get Billy Bowman Jr., and he might be the most exciting player that we'll see right away from this draft class, because he just always seems to be around the football, whether he's knocking somebody's lights out, getting a pick, forcing a turnover or a fumble. Like, he's like a heat-seeking missile back there in the secondary. And a lot of people believe he's going to come into Atlanta and compete for that nickelback role, so that we won't have to worry about seeing D. Alford or some of those other guys that you mentioned earlier. And then to round out the draft class, you go Jack Nelson. Again, offensive tackle. Jake Matthews definitely is getting older. Hopefully he's got some of his daddy's genes to where he can play around till he's 40 or so. And then you got Caleb McGarry, another guy who is getting older and is approaching his next contract. Is Atlanta going to re-sign him? Are they going to let him walk? If Jack Nelson can do anything for you, that might save you a couple bucks when it comes to re-signing either Caleb McGarry or potential injury replacement if one of these guys were to go down. So I'm definitely excited about the draft class this year. It was definitely heavy defensive, but that's what we needed here in Atlanta. You fixed the offense, you solved that, it seems. Now put those resources into this defense so that we can see if this team can play together and play better as a whole.
Yeah. James, I have a question for you. Like I said, people, as you stated earlier, that people were a little upset that you guys double dipped with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. I agree with you. I didn't think Jalen Walker was going to be there at 15 or when you guys picked. I thought he'd be gone by 10 when Chicago, whoever. I thought he'd be gone by then. He was so high on so many boards. I was like, yeah, he's not going to make it to the teens. But somehow he slipped. Great pickup. That's huge. That's a much needed spot for you guys on defense. But back to the James Pierce thing. Like, I only question the James Pierce thing only because of what resources got given up in next year's draft. I don't question. I do like the player. I think to get him where y'all got him at 26 was great value, because he was our top half of the round, guy before people started, saying he has maybe some issues, some character issues, whatever the case may be. But you never know until you get him inside your building. I think the only question I have for you is not picking James Pierce the player, but where you picked him. Giving up on one next year. Hey, could you have waited maybe? Get him in the second round or come up instead of, giving up that premium capital, as people may say. Because I don't know who, maybe Baltimore might have been sniffing around. Or, like you said, maybe the Terry Fontenot got some intel and said, hey, we know teams behind us may want him. And if we want to get this guy in our building to, solidify a pass rush, let's go ahead and pull the trigger now and make a deal with LA. So, I like the player, but sometimes I do question what you guys gave up to get him. So how do you feel about people saying, hey, why'd you give up a first round pick in 2026 to get a guy that you probably could have got a couple slots if you could have traded back and got him a couple slots, or however it was at the time? I don't remember the exact spot you guys were at to get him a couple picks later. So how do you feel about that when people say, hey, you gave up premium capital next year to get somebody that you could have got in the second round potentially during the trade-up?
Definitely. So first off, Pierce definitely wasn't making it to round 2. Definitely not the latter half of round 2 where the Falcons picked. As far as giving up that first round pick, people always get antsy whenever you give up future first round picks. They always question it. They always say, hey, it's an overpay. It's only an overpay if the player doesn't pan out. James Pierce Jr., coming out of the draft, a lot of people, oh, he's got character issues. Oh, there's questions of his motor. Hey, coaches inside the locker room are saying this and that. But to his credit, his teammates actually came out and said, hey, we don't know where this stuff is coming from. James was a football player. James is a guy's guy. He loves playing football. He's been a great teammate. He's been great here in the locker room. We're not sure where these stories are necessarily coming from or what the motive behind it is. But, hey, he's one of us. We support him. And the Falcons did their homework, and actually in hindsight, seeing all the coverage and everything that came out afterwards, Pierce was going to be their pick at 15. had Walker not fallen to them. And so they had already made up in their minds, hey, this guy is worth this 15th overall pick. If he's there, we're going to take him. They spoken to him. They spoke with his family. They did their due diligence. They did the homework, and they decided, you know what? Bump all the character flag talks, bump all the noise. This is the guy that can come in here and help us win football games, and he'll have the chance to prove that. And like I said earlier, giving up the future first, it's only bad if he doesn't pan out and if the team doesn't win. Because if the team wins games, you're looking at a mid to late first round pick. Well, if you look at next year's draft class, and let's say the Falcons finish around pick 22, pick 25, somewhere in that range, James Pierce Jr. is probably going to be better than any player you could have selected there in that position. Now, the side that everybody thinks is going to happen, oh, the Falcons are going to be terrible. They're going to lose a bunch of games this year, and they're going to end up with the Rams having a top 10 pick. If that's the case, yes, it will look bad. But at that point, Terry Fontenot is already going to be gone. I mean, you're talking about a guy and a GM who's going into his fourth year, potentially his final year, and he's looking to put a winning product on the field. So he clearly had the go-ahead from ownership and management to say, hey, look, we want to win. We're trying to win now. If it requires us to dip into the future to get some winning product now, we're willing to pay that cost. And with that blessing from ownership and management, he did that.
Yeah.
And so again, I see where fans and people hindsight criticize the move, but in the moment, if he has that blessing, if he has that wherewithal, and if James Pierce Jr. is a hit, nobody's complaining. Nobody cares at that point.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
always from a negative aspect when we talk about these things.
Absolutely, and I don't know if I discussed this with Larry, but my thing is, if you give up future capital for a guy, and people want to say right then and there is an overpay, you really don't know if it's an overpay right then and there, maybe to after year 3, because everybody's rookie year is super fast. You're getting acclimated to the league. Year 2, you're trying to get your feet wet still, and year 3, hey, fifth year options and stuff trying to, might be getting picked up. So I agree with you. It will only become an overpay in 3 years if they don't pick up his 5th year option or something like that. That's when it become an overpay. And by that time, like you said, Terry Fontenot, he might not be in the building. Austin Blanker moved on. Raheem Morris not there. It's a whole new regime. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. People say it's an overpay. No, it's not an overpay, because you don't know how these players are going to develop and pan out the first 3 years of their career. They're still trying to figure it out. So I definitely agree with you on that point, James. But Larry, I'm not going to steal your spotlight. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you in the spotlight too, brother. So, yeah, I do agree with you guys on that, on just about everything. Fun done. He's got to be in a hot seat type of year, especially going into his 4th year. You haven't made the playoffs in 7 years, so right, this is the year. Going to key additions, Leonard Floyd, who just seems to be racking up close to about
10 years, $10 million a year. Woo.
8-9 sacks, whatever. He seems like he's not stopping. That's a big addition. And I like that veteran presence in the locker room to go along with the rookies that you just drafted. You also get Jamal Agnew, special teams specialist. Mike Ford, I believe he's been there before, right? But a depth
Special
guy.
teamer.
Morgan Fox, you bring him over. Divine Diablo, Amon, you know about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jordan Fuller, who's been over there in the Rams organization with Raheem Morris. The addition of Leonard Floyd, how do you feel about that being added to a defense, to an edge room that's been struggling, as we talked about?
So yeah, I mean, anytime you can add pass rushers in Atlanta, it's always a good thing because we don't have any. And when you can add a Leonard Floyd, yes, he's a guy who's a little bit older, maybe on the back nine of his career, but I think he still averages like 8 sacks a season. Well, your leading sack guy in Atlanta last year had what, 6.5. So I'm not the smartest guy, but 8 sounds like a bigger number to me. And so if you can get that production from a Leonard Floyd, and then if he can pass that knowledge, that wisdom, that insight down to the younger guys, and more specifically a James Pierce Jr., who's the guy who plays similar to Leonard Floyd and is similarly built to Leonard Floyd, it's a win-win. Again, he could come in here and be that day one starter outright and lead the team in sacks with double digits, but I think he's going to be playing more so of that mentor role. I feel he's definitely going to be that designated pass rusher for, third and long. Hey, Leonard, we need you to go in here. We need to get a sack. Hey, we need the ball back. And, first, second down, maybe they give him a couple breathers. But definitely, I see him as that situational pass rush guy, that mentor role, and he's going to be there to help these younger guys develop. When it comes to some of the other guys we added, Morgan Fox, the team decided to let the previous captain and leader of the defense and one of the leaders of the team and Grady Jarrett go. And so they're hoping that Morgan Fox can come in and not replace Grady Jarrett, but maybe at least replace the body that was Grady Jarrett. Again, I don't think anybody on this team can replace what Grady brought to the defense and to the city of Atlanta. Wish him all the best. But the Falcons chose to move on in a different direction and actually play a lot more of their younger talent. This is a team that over the last few years, when it does come to the draft, last year in the second round, they took defensive tackle Rook Orororo. They took defensive tackle Brandon Dorless. They took defensive end Braylon Trice. And so these are guys where Terry and Raheem need to see, what do we have? Are these starters? Are these rotational guys? Can these guys come in, develop, and actually play and be the future leaders of this defense? And so the only way to find that out is to give them that opportunity. Even guys like Zach Harrison, this is going to be his third or fourth year, and we're still kind of waiting to see what he blossoms and develops into. And so right now, it's definitely a lot of trial and error, I believe, when it comes to that defense, especially that front seven. But this is going to be the year they have to figure it out, that they have to find out what they have so that they can actually, either build for the future or so that the next coaching staff can come in and see, hey, look, this guy needs to go, this guy can stay, or that guy has to go.
You guys let Drew Dalman walk out the building, but Ryan Newsel seemed to be Newsel. I believe is got his name right, but watching a little bit of tape on him, it seemed like he took on the role and handled himself well. How would that loss affect you guys, or if it will?
Losing Drew Dahlman, I definitely think it hurts to some degree, more so in the run game than the passing game. When it came to the ground game, I think Drew played a pivotal role in that, carving out some of those passing holes for Bijan and Tyler. But we definitely saw at times where a lot of those fumble snaps, a lot of it was Drew Dahlman's fault, where he's not snapping into the quarterback's hand or he's snapping and hitting his rear end and the ball's lost. I mean, go back to the Washington game. He has that fumbled snap in the end zone before Penix saves the day with the touchdown to Pitts. So it's definitely a loss from the run game aspect. But we saw Ryan Newsel come in last year when Drew Dahlman went down with injury, and he was more than serviceable. He proved that, hey, in a pinch, he could be a starter then. And so they chose to reward him this past offseason with a new deal to say, hey, look, Drew's gone. You're now going to take over at the center position. It's your show. We believe in you. Go get it done. And so he has the camaraderie with the rest of the guys on the offensive line. He knows the quarterback because Mike being the backup quarterback, I'm pretty sure him and Ryan were the ones doing snaps on the sideline most of the day. So they have that camaraderie there. And so I definitely believe this offensive line unit can still play well with Ryan Newsel running the show rather than Drew Dahlman.
You got anything to add, Amon?
No, man. I think James was spot on with the Drew Dahlman because there was some errors, of course. But like you said, he wants to play his new guys, man. Get some young guys in the building. So I mean, you gotta see what you got, man. I mean, you draft these players, sign these players for a reason, man. You gotta at least put them out there and see how they do when you throw them in the fire. So yeah, it could be a little loss, but not nothing that they couldn't recover from with the new guy that they have on the center there for sure.
Let's go schedule.
Here we go. My favorite part.
So you start off week 1 against Tampa Bay. And hope Jay is still watching. But you start off with Tampa Bay at home. Then you go on the road in weeks 2 and 3 against the Vikings and the Panthers. Back at home again in week 4 against the Commanders. So that's a revenge game. You hit the bye week, early bye week. I know you're not probably a fan of that.
Nah.
Week 6, you hit Monday night at home against Buffalo. Week 7, oh, you got back-to-back primetime games. Week 7, you're on Sunday Night Football at San Francisco. Then week 8, you're at home against Miami. Week 9, you're at New England. Week 10, you're across the pond somewhere. You playing the Colts. Week 11, back at home against the Panthers. Week 12, you're at the Saints. Week 13, at the Jets. Week 14, you're at home against the Seahawks. Week 15, you're on the Thursday night game against Tampa Bay. That's going to be big. Week 16, you're at Arizona. In week 17, you're on Monday Night Football against the Rams. And in week 18, you're back at home or you're at home against the Saints. So not a bad schedule. You got some primetime games spread across there. So evidently the league must know something. How do you feel about the schedule?
So I'm definitely excited about the schedule. Definitely some tough competition on there this year, and I think it'll honestly kind of show, hey, what this team is made of. You mentioned we have primetime games against the Bills, 49ers. Those are two teams where we know they're going to be playoff contenders, and so what better way to see where the Falcons stack up as a team than going against some squads that are playoff caliber. Um, Again, starting the year off, we have Tampa Bay in week 1. Always a tough matchup because it's a divisional rivalry. But last year we swept the Bucks, so maybe that trend continues. We're at home week 1, and then also, to my knowledge, Tampa Bay is going to be without star left tackle Tristan Wirfs for the beginning of the season, and so that's a chance for Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., Arnold Ebiketie, Leonard Floyd, a chance for those guys to come in and start eating early as soon as week 1 and put Baker Mayfield on his back in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. So the key to the season is definitely going to be getting off to a fast start. If the Falcons can do that, then once Buffalo, the Commanders, and the 49ers roll around, they may have some wiggle room and room for error if they do happen to lose those games. I know week 2 against Minnesota, a lot of people like the Vikings in that game, but we still don't know what J.J. McCarthy is as an NFL player. And so that game could go either way, honestly. I know last time we went up to Minnesota, they tore us a new one. But that was Sam Darnold under center, and that was Kirk Cousins under center. It wasn't Michael Penix, and it won't be J.J. McCarthy. So that game can honestly go either way.
Amon, you got any thoughts about the schedule here?
Yeah, man. Like I said, like James said, man, you got to start off fast. You coming in, Michael Penix taking over year 2, has a full camp, full offseason, full OTAs, full mini camp to be the guy. Then you have Bijan being Bijan. You got Drake, Darnell Mooney. He has weapons to definitely get it done. It's just a matter of him just getting the reps that he need and getting in sync with his offense, the offensive line. James, I said this a couple shows ago when we did who's our first team we did in the division? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know who it was.
The Saints.
The Saints. Yeah, I said this the first show with the Saints that this, everybody says that the NFC South is probably the weakest division in football, right? Whoever you ask, you can say yes or no. But I actually do believe, Larry and James, this may be the most fun division to watch this year, only because you don't know what you're going to get from a week-to-week basis from each team in this division. Because, like I said, we had the Panthers episode yesterday. Bryce Young, this is, he's back on playing it. He got some more weapons. He has Ted McMillan. Chuba got a new deal, so you don't know what he's going to bring to the table. Do he go back to the 2023 version of Nick Saban's Alabama team? Did he go back to that Bryce Young? You got Baker Mayfield with Mike Evans getting older. The division is catching up with each other. And then you drop in Michael Penix and, with all the rare weapons he has. Yes, we know what the Saints are. They're in a dysfunction of their own, but I truly believe with the schedule that this division has, that anybody can win a division. Like, maybe besides the Saints, but the Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks, it can be anybody's division this year. It's just a war of attrition and who's going to be there at the end of the year to win those key division games that you're going to need to win to get a home playoff game. So I definitely believe, I wouldn't be shocked if, Carolina wins the division. I wouldn't be shocked if Michael Penix and Atlanta win the division. And, of course, you wouldn't be shocked if the Buccaneers win the division. They won the last 4 or 5 seasons. So I believe with the schedule that I'm seeing with Atlanta, there are some winnable games. There are some toughies for sure. But like I said, any given Sunday, the ball can bounce any way, and it can be your day. So I'm definitely excited to see what Penix does with the array of weapons. And I'm not trying to compare Bijan to CMC, but he should fill that similar role. He should have that similar impact on the Atlanta Falcons team this year, to where you can be Mr. Do-It-All. Yes, we're gonna knock and pray he don't get hurt and go through the same thing CMC is going through. But if Bijan is touted to be what he was when he came out a couple years ago, top 10 pick, we should see the similarities between those two. And if that's the case, we might be seeing breakout MVP Bijan this year for sure, which he's well capable of having one of those type of seasons.
Yes,
I mean, I'd be all for that.
Absolutely.
Sounds like music to me.
Yes, he is. I'm trying to pull his stats up real quick. So, of course, he got better than his rookie season, and then he had more receiving yards in his first season with less touches than he had last season. So, I'm definitely banking on Bijan to become one of those MVP candidates. Mon, you spoke on the division kind of like being like anybody's race, and to me, in my opinion, it's kind of been like a mess, like for the last couple of years. Don't you guys agree?
I can't say it's been a mess, but I would definitely say it's
Like who really
definitely.
wants it?
I would say it definitely comes down to that. It definitely comes down to, like Amon said, that war of attrition, and then kind of who wants it the most. Um, a lot of people think that this division may be terrible, but honestly, in division, it's one of the most competitive divisions I think in the NFL. Again, when it comes to these divisional games, they always play tough. Um, Carolina's never an easy out, even with Bryce Young at quarterback. We know Tampa Bay is not an easy out. They've won the division the last 3-4 years, and New Orleans may be in for a down year. But I mean, let's not forget, before the wheels fell off last year, they were putting up 40+ points against the Cowboys and teams like that, teams that we thought maybe division winners and playoff contention teams. So New Orleans, while I don't foresee them having the best season, I definitely don't think they're going to be out of it, especially if they find some semblance of a quarterback on that roster. So, yeah, it's definitely always an interesting time when you come down south.
Yeah, James, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. You're a little more easygoing than I am. You said New Orleans not gonna be out of it, bro. Garrett
It's not going to be an
Nussmeier
easy out, but
yeah, I think you're a little higher on the Saints than I am. Garrett Nussmeier, come on and be your dad's. Let your dad coach you in 2026, because yeah, brother, it's about to be rough, man. And I went into my spiel about the Saints on that episode, why I think it's going to be rough. But ultimately, like you said, I wouldn't say it's a mess. It's just you don't know. You can't be 100% sure that the Buccaneers are going to win the division, because Baker Mayfield may take the crazy pill and everything can go left. Luckily, he hasn't had that happen. But, I'm saying, hey, Kirk Cousins, before he got injured last year, he was 6-3. They were, leading the division, and then, boom, injuries happened. And then with Carolina, they had to sit down Bryce Young last year, let him see how to be a professional, and bring in Andy Dalton. And I think once he got back in the lineup, you've seen the best version of Bryce Young in that short span last year. And that can spill over into 2025. So I wouldn't say it's a mess. It's just a who's who of who's going to come up and who's going to say, oh, you know what? By week 12, week 13, you're going to have to come through us if you want to win this division. Who's going to have the 2-game lead with 3 games left, or whatever the case may be, and be comfortable knowing, hey, I may have a game in January in the playoffs in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. That would be lit. But yeah, man, I wouldn't say it's a mess. I just said we don't know who's going to take the reins of that division and run away with it.
Yeah, you guys are right. Bad choice of words right there with the mess.
No, you said it.
But you guys know what I'm talking about. Like last year, I believe what it came down to, like week 8
Week 17,
Week
actually.
17, and
Week
Yeah.
17, week 18.
and
So,
I can't
it's
remember.
always competitive on that back end.
I can't remember from the year before of how that went, but I want to say it's probably something similar to that too. So
nine wins win your division in the NFC South. That's crazy. So I get what you're saying, Larry. Like it's like, dang, don't nobody want to win 12 plus games and win a division. Like we always got to play 9 wins. You sneaking around playoff. Like don't nobody feel confident in no 9-win team having a home playoff games. Like I'm coming in. I'm Minnesota. I'm coming into Tampa or whoever. You win 9 games. Don't want to really take you serious. Yes, it is the playoffs, but we know you kind of like by default of beating each other up in the same division, kind of snuck in one division. So, but I get what you're saying though for sure.
And don't let the 9-win team win.
Yeah, that'd be. Boy, you might as well pack up the whole regime.
We've seen it though. We've
Yeah,
seen some 9-win teams, man, come in the
it has
playoffs.
happened.
It's like, they kind of fell in, and it's like they've knocked some teams out. I mean,
yeah, it did the number 1 seed sitting at home the second week of January, third week of January, and you got to go up to Green Bay or somewhere icicle cold because you wanted to be a superhero and beat the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, or whatever. Yeah, it has happened for sure.
Daniel Jones did beat the Vikings.
He did. Oh God, we ain't gonna bring that up.
That's still
hey, we got the South coming up. I got some good things to talk about Daniel Jones. We're gonna get that when we get to the Colts episode.
Let's knock the Colts out first because I know how you feel about you think he got a case to run the table and be the MVP. Let's go ahead, Larry.
The Shane Steichen effect, baby. You know,
if that's the case, no.
I don't know, Larry. That's strong Kool-Aid, bro.
Yeah. I can't.
Kool-Aid.
I mean, this, he a different quarterback, but I mean, hey.
He different,
Let's go to more or less. Bijan Robinson, more or less. I think I explained to you earlier, James, more like an over or under, but reading off of last year's stats, and according to you and your opinion, if you think they'll get more or less. So we're going to start with Bijan Robinson. He had 1,887 yards from scrimmage. So does he go more or less than 1,867?
More.
Okay. I think he kind of gets more too. I think then, Penix, I think he'll unlock him a little bit more. I think he'll get a little.
We could see 2,000 yards from scrimmage from Bijan this year if the offense reaches its potential.
Yeah.
All-purpose yards, we could easily see that.
Exactly. Like you said earlier, James, Bijan has to be the motor for this team to go, and if he's going to be that motor, like we all know he's capable of being, it's definitely more for me in that category as well.
Drake London, first 1,000-yard season last year, he had 1,271 yards. Does he go more or less this year?
Oh, that's an easy more. Looking at the end of last year, once Michael Penix came in, Drake London was like his go-to target. If you go back and look at a lot of those games, I think that's when Drake was averaging 100+ yards those last 3 games. The chemistry between those two, that 9-to-5 connection, we could see a lot of overtime hours in Atlanta this season. The offense plays well.
Ooh, I like that. That was slick. That was clever. James, let me ask you a question. Is Drake London in the contract year?
So no, he's not in the contract year. This is going to be year 4 for him. But if he plays well, typically the way the Falcons like to run their financial books, if he plays well this year, he could be in line for an extension at the end of the year.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, he should be looming around. Okay, if I play good, Atlanta, y'all gonna do good by me at the end of the year and give me an extension going into 2026. So yeah, I wasn't that far off, but I knew something was coming up for him either this year or the next year for sure.
I mean, he just saw that money Garrett Wilson got and was like, "Hey, I got a quarterback now. I got a connection with him. We can win some games. Garrett Wilson money looked good to me." So he saw that, and I think he's definitely motivated.
And you wouldn't have to pay Penix for a while either because he'd be on that rookie deal. So definitely, yeah, absolutely.
Arthur Blank could play that patient role and exercise his 5th-year option as well too, right?
Yeah, but we know Arthur Blank.
Typically, that's not how they do it. Typically, that's not how they do it. Usually, in Atlanta, if you've been a draft pick, especially a first-round guy, and you've played well,
he takes
year
care.
4, they're looking to get something done.
Absolutely.
One more offensive player. Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Pitts. Kyle Pitts has 602 yards and 4 touchdowns. In terms of both of those, does he get more or less?
And see, this is the only one that's iffy or tricky because again, we know what Cal is capable of because of his rookie year. It's just will we see it again? And you know what? Because it could be, I mean, it's all or nothing for him. So I'm gonna go more because he has to. He has to perform because if he doesn't, guess what? You're on your 5th-year option now. This is your last chance. And if you want to get paid, you're gonna have to ball out, whether it's in Atlanta or the next team. If you want somebody to pick up that check, you're gonna have to ball out this year. So I'm gonna go with more.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with more as well. Only because I still believe in the talent of Kyle Pitts. He got drafted way too high to not be doing what we all know he's capable of doing. So but like James said, if that stat line you just read off right there, Larry, if he still has that stat line right there, trust me and believe me, he's going to be traded at some point in the offseason next year. He has to be because you can't justify a top 5 pick. James, help me if I'm wrong.
Number 4.
Top 5 pick. Having those type of numbers, especially when you've seen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but Brock Bowers come in and do what he did his rookie year, and
Bowers, Sam Laporta. I
Sam
mean, there's
Laporta,
been a
yeah,
lot of tight ends have come in and
see
done
what
well.
TJ Hawkinson doing with in Minnesota, like you can't just have you can't have that high of a draft status and go where you came out and got picked where you did and putting up pedestrian numbers like you a second string tight end. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. It's like why I'm going to invest millions of dollars into a guy that's producing like a second or third string tight end. So if he has the same stat line that you just read off, he might be a Bronco next year to be taking over Avery Ingham. Like there was some trade rumors out there for a while about the down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I looked at you and brought it up. There was some trade rumors that people were inquiring. I was hoping Denver was kind of like bluffing, but that was like a legit thing. But man, we just hope that he raised his level and produced better than what he's doing because with all the weapons and because you can't double Drake London because you got Bijan, you got Darnell Mooney, it's so many weapons in Atlanta, man. So if you're going to get single coverage, this is the year to get single coverage and eat. And if he don't, yeah, he's definitely on a new team in 2026.
Man, imagine that Bo Nix to Kyle Pitts. Man.
Sounds good, but we thought Kyle Pitts in Atlanta would sound good too. So you just never know. You just never know, man.
Bo Nix, he 30. He came in the he came in the league as a rookie at 30 years old. Got 80 starts in college before he went come to the league. So he might be old and washed by the time Kyle get there.
Arnold Ebiketie, 6 sacks, contract year. Does he go more or less?
Former first round pick?
Nah, he was a second rounder, but we traded up for him.
Yeah.
We traded up in the second round to take him the year we did. I think that was the same year as Pitts. Again, another guy who's in a contract year. You said he had 6.5 sacks last year. I think coming into the year, he's definitely going to be in position to start. And so I think that might be the only thing that gets him to more than 6.5 sacks this season. The fact that he'll be a starter from day one of this season. And so I think it won't be by much. I think he might get to like 8, but I think it'll be more than 6.5.
I'm gonna say less, and only because this is my personal belief. James Pierce and Jalen Walker are going to have a bigger impact early on this defense that I think people are expecting. Like James said, that Jalen Walker can line up on the edge and take some spots away from Arnold Ebiketie if he wants to. Because if we all remember, we all saw that Texas game last year when Quinn Ewers just had a nightmare of a game where he just couldn't move. Because every time you looked at the game, number 11 was in the backfield. He was just terrorizing stuff. So I think Raheem Moore sees this like, okay, like you said earlier, there's my chess piece. And like you say, third down, you want your best pass rushers to be on the field at all times. And if, like you said, between Jalen Walker, what's my guy, Leonard Floyd, James Pierce, hey man, where am I gonna get on the field? So that's the only thing I see. And this, all depends on how good of a camp James Pierce is. He having a great camp. I expect him to be on the field early as well. And like I said, Arnold's going to start, but who's to say he's not? Them boys might not take his spot come halfway through the season and going into the back end of the year. The boys might become alive and become grown men and just hey, we know you're expendable now, so we're not going to play you. We're not going to risk getting you hurt and whatever the case may be. So I'm gonna say less, just because of the influx of pass rushers that Atlanta has at their disposal now. The way they can do a whole lot more and have a whole lot more bodies to rotate in on their defensive line.
Yeah, they stacking up on the pass rush over there. Just hopefully they can get some more sacks. One more. Jesse Bates, since he's been over to Atlanta, has 10 interceptions. The last 3 years, 4. His last year in Cincinnati, he had 4 interceptions, 6 interceptions in 23 with y'all, and then last year with 4. Does he go more or less than 4 this year?
On the interceptions front, I do think we're going to see less, but I think that'll be the result of better play up front from the defensive front seven. Again, a lot of his interceptions come with him making plays on the ball. And so while he's great at it, if the defense is getting home on quarterbacks, he won't have as many opportunities because teams won't be able to throw the ball like that. So I think it will be less, but I mean, I'll never be mad at a Jesse Bates turnover. I'll never be mad at that. That's always a good Sunday when number 3 can get the ball in his hands.
Yeah. I'm gonna say less. I'm gonna say stay right where he is. And boy, wouldn't Cincinnati love to have those interceptions that you just named off the last past 4 years? Ooh, but they'd
have to pay for it.
That's
on the
it. They
defensive
wanted
side.
Mike Brown. He don't want to pay for production. He want to get it how he can. So, but I'm gonna say he stays right where he is. At 4, and like I said, last time the pass rush would be a whole lot better. So there may not be as many opportunities or tip picks that he can go up and get. I could be wrong. He might end up having 6 or 7 with the pass rush. Who knows? But I'm gonna say he stays around the 4 area with a much improved front 7 that they're gonna, some of those maybe tip pick throws are going to be sacks now by James Pierce and Jalen Walker and Leonard Floyd, so that they might keep that number down and keep him right where he was last year.
And James, you spoke on this earlier, the forced fumbles. He had 4 last year, 3 the year before that. So he's definitely balling.
He got that peanut. He got that Charles Tillman punch down pack, don't he? My God.
He does, man. He does. And it comes up in some clutch moments.
One more question. Mm-hmm. You had some undrafted guys. So I was real high on Kobe Bryant from Kansas. Do you know anything about how he's looking in camp?
So they just started camp today. Early reports were that he wasn't necessarily working in with the 1s and 2s. He could have been possibly doing some rehab work. But it does seem that the coaching staff is excited about the potential he could have with this team. I think early on, a lot of people think he's going to play inside at competing for that backup nickel spot or potentially even the starter at nickel. But I think he could end up blossoming into a guy you could play outside along AJ Terrell, because again, when it comes to our cornerback room, we know AJ is going to be one of the starters outside. They brought back Mike Hughes just to have a competent person opposite of AJ, and they're really trying to see who's going to be that next guy up. Can it be Clark Phillips? While he is undersized, he has played on the outside before, and teams try to pick on him, but he's proven to hold his own. I mean, even the Carolina game last year, the first game against Carolina in Carolina, Clark Six had a pick at the end of the game to the game was already in hand, but he had an interception late that he could have ran back for 6, but he decided to go down so Atlanta can run the clock out. So when he is on the field, he has the mental capacity to play the game. It's just, will his physical size limit him? So we'll be interested to see what he does. Like I said, you got Billy Bowman Jr. He's definitely going to be playing that nickel position for Atlanta. It's already been confirmed. It's just, will he get those early reps from day one, or will he kind of have to rotate in behind a D Alford, who honestly I think Alford is back just to kind of be like that gauge because they know, hey, D Alford was here for us last year, and this was the starting bar for our nickelback. If Billy Bowman is here or here, well, hey, you could probably say goodbye to D Alford because Bowman's going to take that spot. But definitely excited to see what Kobe Bryant can do defensively. I definitely feel like he will make the 53 because if you let him go, and I don't think he's going to make it to practice squad. He was a guy that a lot of people had some hype around because, again, he's a turnover machine. He's a ball hawk, even at Kansas.
I was
I
so
don't think,
surprised he went undrafted.
right. I think he had like what 6 or 7 interceptions this past season, and so he has a nose for the football. And so if you can have that along with the Jesse Bates, that's a hell of a secondary. Um, Other undrafted free agents that are gaining some popularity: Nick Nash,
I
the
was
wide
just about to
Ooh,
receiver.
ask
yes,
you.
I don't know I don't know why he went undrafted. But yes, I know he played in the Sun Belt. I don't know the conference that he played in, but I was like,
Well,
okay,
so with him, his college career was a little different. He started off as a quarterback actually at San Jose State, and
right,
I think he played QB for a couple of years, and then they transitioned him to wide receiver. And so he's a little bit of an older player. I think he's maybe 24, 25, something like that.
okay,
But I think what'll help him, having played quarterback, he knows how to read the defense. He knows coverages. He'll know, hey, they're in a zone. I need to sit it down here. Or, hey, we're in man coverage. I can outrun this guy here and there. So I think that honestly will help him when it comes to cracking this roster and potentially even seeing the field early in his rookie season or in his first couple seasons. Because again, while there are some guys ahead of him in Ray McLeod, Cordero Hodge, Casey Washington still on the roster. He could beat those guys out, but again, like those guys aren't necessarily slouches. I mean, we saw Ray had a career year last year as wide receiver 3. And so, there's some competition for Nick Nash, but I think he does have a good chance to make this roster.
And I say that because he is one of my rookies to watch. No shade on Jack Nelson because you guys didn't pick an offensive guy in your
The trenches
draft, but
go unnoticed, man. It's dirty work, but it's all good.
right. Uh, and then you select them in the 7th round, so that's why I didn't really give an offensive player other than Nick Nash, the offensive rookie to watch. And then you got Xavier Watts and Jalen Walker, who I feel like could make immediate impacts. Those are my rookies to watch, and my players to watch: Arnold Ebiketie and Kyle Pitts, both going into contract years. We'll see if they can step it up and get paid this season. So, Mon, you got anything else before we get up out of here?
yeah, man. I know I came in a few minutes late on the pod or whatever the case. Sorry about that. But for me, I, I like Michael Penix coming out of school. Yes, he came from Indiana, the Big Ten, and then going on to the Pac-12 or whatever it is now. Whatever it is, I'm not sure. But the only thing I wish for him is for him to stay healthy because we know with both of the ACLs and the shoulder, and those are lingering things. And Nick Saban says it. If you stay injured in college, you stay injured in the NFL. And I just hope that and pray that he stays healthy because he has all the talent in the world, especially the arm talent. He has a whip for an arm, and it's unorthodox because he's a left-hander. He's lefty. So you don't see many left-handed. I mean, I guess there's maybe him and Tua.
Man, he slings it too.
Yeah, they're the only two, but I just hope he stays healthy and plays as long as he can. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see what this Falcons defense, how they grow. I do know, and I want to touch on this, James, when we're talking about the defense. I knew Jalen Ramsey, that was probably one of the destinations. I think it had came up the Falcons was one of the destinations because of his rapport with Raheem Morris when they was in LA. They won Super Bowl together. So I would have liked to have seen that marriage happen. Of course, it didn't go that way. He's back in Pittsburgh now, but I'm looking for explosive things to happen with this offense with all the weaponry that they had with, Kirk Cousins, which is a solid quarterback in the league. And, yeah, man, I expect fireworks in Atlanta this year.
James, your final thoughts on your Falcons this year, if you have any?
Definitely look for the team to be competitive and compete in all the games this year. Last year we transitioned a step better, going from 3 straight years of 7-10 to 8-9 last year. I look for the team to improve that record this year, maybe by about 2-3 games, and that could be the 2-3 games they need to win this division and get a playoff berth. And that's on the low end. Again, on the high end, this team has the potential to be a double-digit win team. It just all depends on key guys staying healthy, offense being able to play well under Michael Penix and Zach Robinson's second year as OC, and that defense being able to finally get to the quarterback, man. I mean, Atlanta seems to always be a team right there on the cusp, and they just always fail to break through, and this is their year to do it.
You
And
can't.
to Amon's point, what players that stay injured, Penix was nicked up when he went to Indiana, but I don't know. Maybe it was the Seattle rains or the climate. He had 2 healthy full years at Washington to end
Yeah,
his
man.
career. So hopefully that's the Michael Penix that translates and stays in the NFL, that healthier version, because he's definitely got something magical. He's got the weapons around him, and it's his time. Atlanta's his city now, and he's got to go out there and earn it.
I'll tell you one
Hopefully he
thing.
gets
I wouldn't want to catch one of his passes with no gloves on because you probably breaking all my fingers, bro, for sure. But Larry, you go ahead, brother.
Yeah, James, thank you once again taking time out coming on the show. Really appreciate you. You welcome back on here anytime. We'll definitely be communicating again. When is the next J&J podcast?
Me and Jay will work that out, man. It could be next week. We'll get out there though, but definitely once it's back, you can always check us out on LegacyMaker Sports Network, J&J Podcast, Legacy on Fire, and all the other great shows we have on the network. If you're new to it, stop by, check us out, let us know what you think.
Shout out to the Legacy Maker Sports Network and everything they have going over there. James, thank you. Amon, thank you once again. Everybody, until then,